As the championship reaches its conclusion here tonight, the title fights look to be all but decided at the top of the standings. But all may not be settled as it seems, with the drivers taking to the ever-difficult, ever-challenging Laguna Seca Raceway. With gravel traps waiting to snag drivers around every curve and little room for error for every driver, literally anything can happen in today's season finale. Welcome, everyone, to the Mobileye GT World Challenge America Esports Championship. My name is DJ Clark, joined in the commentary booth by Kyle Heyer, with art director and producer Mike Yao behind the scenes. And Kyle, I really and truly can't imagine a more picturesque and fantastic raceway for us to end our season on.
Absolutely. This is one of the great North American racetracks. WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. 2.2 miles, 11 turns, 55 meters of elevation changes over the 2.5 miles here. And the Corkscrew, 18 meters of that elevation happens in just a couple hundred feet. This is one of those great American racetracks that every racing driver wants to tackle at some point in their career, real or virtual.
Very much so. And your eyes are not deceiving you on the screen. We've got another wrinkle getting thrown in there. It has been raining around Monterey, California right now, so that's certainly going to change things up. But before we get to the action on track, let's go ahead and run you through the entry lists here today. A pretty packed grid, as it has been. There you can see plenty of drivers trying to work their way on through, trying to see what will be able to happen here as they go. Severt, Josh Staffen in there, Daniel DeLaviera, Vinny Oliveira as well, Boothby, Schill, all these names that we have come so accustomed to seeing here, Kyle.
Yeah, a handful of HPD Jazz Pro America cars as well, and that Acura NSX GT3 Evo. You mentioned Gregor Schill running with the Turner Motorsports Group, names that we've seen towards the top of the order. You mentioned it earlier, the championship might be all but decided there. Luke Whitehead leading by about 20 points over Igor Rodriguez, but that doesn't mean it's over just yet. Looking down the rest of the list here, makes and models and manufacturers from a handful of car manufacturers from around the world: Porsche, Aston Martin, BMW, Acura, McLaren, Bentley, and more. It's just the sounds and sights of GT3 racing. Even in the sim, DJ gets me excited every time.
Oh, it most certainly does. It's some of the best stuff that you can see out on track for sure. And speaking of that championship, let's go ahead and take a look at the championship standings. As you mentioned, Luke Whitehead sitting on the top of the world there, holding off about, well, let's call it about 15 points or so over Luke Southall. Ian Nostra there sitting a fair ways back as well. But Hardveld, it's going to be hoping for a good result here, enough to just sort of pad those standings.
Yeah, certainly. And again, we're looking at the silver category standings right now. Hardveld, Southall, and Nostroza at the top of the board. And then looking a little bit further down, there are some very tight battles here. Maximum points, you can earn 34 points for finishing in first. So there's still a lot of opportunity for drivers to shift and shuffle, especially in the mid-pack here in these fields, DJ. But in our top category, there they are. Luke Whitehead, Igor Rodriguez, Gregor Schill, your top three. Schill and Rodriguez still could swap between each other, depending on how their races go, but everybody chasing that 21 of Luke Whitehead coming into the night.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be trying to chase him down with plenty of action to be had. A couple of drivers there as we look our way further down the charts. Killian Ryan Meenan, Taham Ali there as well. Zach Patterson with a couple on the day. And these drivers in the back here, very important final round for them. If they're able to pick up 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 points on the day, that is going to absolutely catapult them up into the order there. And they're going to be hoping to have some good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned catapulting. Yeah, just 10 or 15 points will put you way up the order here. It's been extremely competitive at the top of the order. You mentioned the rain coming on the way here, DJ, for this race this afternoon. Laguna Seca is Spanish for dry lagoon. It's not going to be so dry here in Monterey, California today, and that is going to bring up something that a lot of drivers probably don't have a lot of experience in. Racing in the rain at a track in California that's typically dry and dusty, that's a totally different thing. You and I were at Sonoma up earlier in the season for the real Fanatec GT World Challenge America powered by AWS Championship, and rain at Sonoma was a big challenge. Not a lot of drivers have experience doing that. Maybe more in the sim here at Laguna Seca than the real-world drivers have experience at this particular track, because you can play with the weather conditions all you want, but there's a lot of unknowns about where the grip is going to be at this 2.2-mile track today.
Yeah, there are a lot of unknowns, but what isn't unknown is the layout of this very, very historic circuit. And to get an idea of just how this circuit flies its way around, let's head over to our BMW Track Genius, hosted by Bruno Spengler.
Hi, I'm Bruno Spengler, BMW M-Works driver. I'm your track genius for today's race. Today I'm going to show you one of the world's most famous tracks, Laguna Seca. Let's go. Important to have the momentum onto the straight as the straight goes uphill. Then we're coming to one of the signature corners on this track, the Andretti hairpin, turn 1. Very important to carry the brakes late into the corner. It's a bit like a double apex, but you have to make it one corner. Trail brake long into the corner, and then on the power, ID apex, so in the middle of the corner. Here we come to a blind quick left-hander, which is very difficult, very technical. You have to be early on the power. Again, uphill after that, and then we're coming to the corner of the track, Corkscrew. So here it's not about late braking, it's about placing the car. You have to place your car right to hit the first apex, be early on the gas, staying inside here. Car's a bit loose, then we have a quick left, and this was a full lap of Laguna Seca. So guys, I hope you're ready, because now it's your turn. See you next time.
And thanks again to Bruno Spengler and the BMW track genius there to give us an idea of this circuit. But Kyle, we've become so familiar to this place, the way it is laid out. It's hard to imagine it really being anything else, but this track has gone through some changes over the years.
Yeah, the biggest one happened back in 1987. This track now has 11 corners. It used to have fewer than that. Down in turn 2, where the Andretti hairpin stands today, that used to just be a kinked corner rather than a hairpin, and you would run all the way up to what is now turn 6, or just one long, big, sweeping corner. So there wasn't really much of a slowdown all the way until you got to the Corkscrew at now what is turn number 8 and 8A. So it used to be extremely fast, DJ. That track was reconfigured back in 1987. It added the Andretti hairpin all the way through turn 5, giving a little bit more flow through the center of the racetrack and added some passing opportunities as well. So while drivers that raced here before 1987 had a bit of a different racetrack, I'd say the extra passing zones have made this even more dynamic.
Yeah, they certainly have. It's made it a fantastic run. As we just run you through, again, those championship standings, made a little error there and didn't have the up-to-date standings there, but still relatively the same up at the top of the standing charts there with 4 rounds down, only 1 to go here at Laguna Seca. And there you can see everybody as they sort themselves out in that championship order. But as we look there, you know, we were kind of commenting before the race here, Kyle, about the BOP and the different cars that are going to be good here, and it certainly does look like Porsche is going to be the car to beat around this Monterey circuit, looking very quick today.
No, Porsche has been great for decades in all forms of motorsport, but here in particular, with this WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, it does seem like that rear-engine Porsche 911 GT3R is one of the cars to have, but as we see in the real world and here in Assetto Corsa Competizione, all the cars are within a certain performance window. It doesn't mean that they all drive the same, but it does mean that some might have some slight advantages at certain tracks. I hear that called horses for courses a lot, DJ.
Yes, indeed. As now we run you through the qualifying grid here as we are about 3 minutes away from the start of the session. As you can see, Luke Whitehead picking up where he left off with a little bit of a shock there. Via Nostra and Hartfeld in the silver category, qualifying 2nd and 3rd. Michael Kondashoglu will be 4th, Gregor Schill, then Pfeffer, Yi Lu, Josh Staffen back down in 9th place. There you can see some more familiar names farther and farther down the grid. Samard, Harry Spears, Killian Ryan Meenan down in 15th. As we get into the meat of this field a little bit, doesn't look like that there's, outside of that Audi, one particular car that's good or bad. The only one that you could say maybe looking like it's struggling a little bit around here is Seville in that McLaren, the number 97.
Yeah, again, we talked about horses for courses, and I don't know how much the different cars are going to matter a lot in the rain here necessarily. I would feel comfortable in that Porsche 911 GT3R just because that rear-engine platform in the rain, I want all the rear grip I can get. But once the track gets to a certain kind of moisture level, when it gets slippery enough, it really comes down to the driver. And in some senses, rain is the great equalizer of sports car racing. It's all about who can handle the track when it's this wet, when it's this slippery, and if the conditions worsen, it's going to be a lot more about the driver behind the wheel than what's under the hood today.
Yeah, it very much is. And also keeping an eye out on those changing conditions. Is that going to cause anything? Are we going to see some drivers maybe opting to come down pit lane a little bit early or a little bit later, depending on what those conditions continue to do? As we work our way there through the back of the grid, everyone out on the road, you can see it is fully wet here. As you said, the great equalizer among not just sports car racing, but racing in general. We're definitely going to see some drivers in play, how they do it. Now, the other thing to keep in mind over the course of this, we mentioned pit stops. There is a mandatory fuel stop over the course of the race. Now, that is going to open up in the middle of the race. There will be a pit stop window in which you're going to have to make that mandatory stop. You see the gold on the side of your screen there with the 1. That indicates that the driver still has a stop yet to do as we continue to go and wait here about 30 seconds away from roll-off.
Yeah, that gold will change to green when the drivers come on down and complete their pit stop. One thing I also want to watch today is how many of the drivers are playing with the electronics in their cars, their ABS, their traction control. You can adjust those things throughout the day to kind of make your car more drivable for the conditions. Those are things that you can actually watch the driver go up and turn the knobs. That's a detail in the Assetto Corsa Competizione. I love it a lot. It just shows the driver reaching up, turn that knob one way or the other, adjust that traction control. Driver preference heavily, DJ, but traction control and ABS in these cars is so good nowadays that the computer can do it better than you can. So don't try to be brave, turn everything off, and just try to use your right foot to do all the control. You want to lean on those electronics. They will help you today.
Yes, they will, as Luke Whitehead is the first to roll off here at Laguna Seca. And we will have one pace lap before the cars get going under green. It will be a little bit treacherous, and I think we're going to have to watch out, particularly going down into turn 1 and the Andretti hairpin there. Things could get a little bit hairy. That is a tricky braking zone, a little bit curved under the best of circumstances. And with the rain that is coming down here today, that is going to just really, I think, cause a little bit of trouble, particularly in the mid-pack.
And there's so much elevation change at a track like this that there's so much change in how much weight is pressing down on these Pirelli tires throughout a lap, especially in the corkscrew. When the track falls away, you're descending 18 meters. That's 60 feet down from turn 8 to 8A. The track is going to fall away from you. You're going to lose that grip on your tires, and it's going to be extremely treacherous. Then you head down the hill at turn 9 and 10, and the car will get into compression, and the grip level will rapidly rise. So drivers will really have to be on top of their cars today in these conditions. If it starts to dry out, that might get a little bit simpler for them, but it's going to be far from simple when the green flag drops.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a very tricky way around here as we get a shot of all the drivers working their way under the bridge right now. As there they go, and you can see just how big of a field we have here today. About 47 cars is what is going to be making up the grid, and Luke Whitehead already bringing the drivers down through the corkscrew, down through the rainy curve right now as they bring their way. No, excuse me, he's going up to the corkscrew right now. Sometimes these, even somebody as experienced as me, sometimes these corners blend together a little bit at Laguna Seca.
You live in California, don't you, DJ? It's dark out, yeah. I'll give you that. So it is a little dark, and the visibility will also be a little bit of a problem. All that spray you see, that's the rooster tail they call it when you head down the straightaway or the corners and you're kicking up that spray of water. The windshield wipers will be a wiping before our 1 hour 60-minute race here. 1 hour slash 60 minutes, not 1 hour 60. That'd be a 2 hour race. But heading down the hill here, DJ, getting prepped for the start, racking up and stacking up 2 rows deep, or 2 rows wide, I should say, and a whole bunch of rows deep. It is a big full field of GT3 cars for the Mobileye GT World Challenge America Esports Championship.
Yes, it is. As Whitehead and Ionostra line themselves up, Hartveld and Kondaccioglu behind them. A lot of Porsches up in that front 4. And they work their way through the final hairpin right now out of turn 11. All eyes on the flag stand and on Luke Whitehead here as we get ready to go racing. And there we wait. Eyes going on the flag stand, waiting for that Porsche to get under speed. And there goes the green. We are racing in Laguna Seca. It is a good getaway there from Luke Whitehead. He is already going to pull himself ahead. Ionostra looking a little bit there, trying to go down to the inside. Hartfeld going to challenge on the outside. 3 wide there in the back as they go, as we've got 3 wide coming down through the rest of the order. But my predictions all falling to naught as it looks like the field able to get through nice and cleanly. And as soon as I say that, we've got what looks to be a McLaren spun around.
Yeah, it's the yellow and blue McLaren. The Williams Esports McLaren that looped it around at turn number 1. A little bit of hip and shoulder there as they went to the first corner. It was Tobias Pfeffer, the Mercedes AMG, that was in the middle of the 3 wide up towards the front of the field, and somehow they came out the other side okay, DJ, but on lap number 1, everybody fighting for racing room. They've single filed out now and can focus on the task at hand.
And they're going to have to check their braking zones up just a little bit here as they go down through the corners, working their way through turn 6 onto the Ray Hall straight in the line up there. There is Fidel Morera, that driver that we saw having a problem earlier on. He's farther back down in the field in that Bentley as drivers work their way through the corkscrew for the first time up to speed. You got to be very, very careful here, especially in the rain. If you get onto that power too early, that can definitely throw you off, Kyle.
The sights and sounds of motorsport in the rain. It is fantastic stuff. Lap 1 is coming to completion here, and you can see the visibility is extremely low off the nose of Pfeffer's Mercedes AMG GT3 right now. At the exit of turn 11, though, that car is gripped up, so he's got that traction control, the right foot behaving itself as we head down the front straightaway. Complete that first lap. 3/10 advantage for Whitehead. Kondaxioglu's fallen a couple spots. Josh Staffen up 1 as we get through the first 2.2-mile lap.
And there's some fast times being set a little bit further back in the field. We focus our eyes, though, on the battle between Nostra and Luke Whitehead up at the top of the field. Angel here working his way around for that Yas Heat team in the Porsche number 96. This is a track, and we haven't really mentioned it thus far, Kyle, but it's a track that's pretty notoriously difficult to get a pass done on. So you've really got to have high commitment to be able to get a move or expect the driver in front of you to make a mistake.
It's one of those places that you can force a pass to happen anywhere, but it's really only nice of you to do it down into the Andretti hairpin or maybe turn number 11. The corkscrew's really risky, but it's high risk, high reward there. You can grab a spot and then drive away in the downhill through 9 and 10. But yeah, you're right. It's a challenging place to pass, especially so in the early moments when the track is extremely wet here and everybody is just trying to find grip. This is the stage in the race where you're racing the racetrack before you're racing the competitors alongside you.
Yeah, very much so. You have got to just try to be able to see what you can do to be able to get everything going, working their way down into that turn 10 right now, trying to see if anything's going to be firing off. Kondaxioglu, who we ride on board with right now for FFS Racing in that Porsche 911 GT3R number 56. Going to hope to get a little bit of a draft here down the long front straightaway, but nothing going to be playing out.
Yeah, Whitehead expanded the lead up to about 0.6 of a second, so 0.3 per lap is the advantage Whitehead is getting at the front of the field here. Still on board with Kondaxioglu as they work their way through the Andretti hairpin, a little bit deeper in the field. In 27th place, that's Gabriel Philippe, challenging a Lamborghini ahead. That is Cody Blanton, who we've seen in the past. A little bit of a touchdown into turn 1, hip and shoulder, and alongside Bentley versus Lamborghini.
Side-to-side contact there as they go, and a little bit of side-by-side up ahead of them. That's going to be Sievert and Rodriguez trying to see if they've got anything out, and it looks like Sievert there in the, that's going to be Rodriguez, and the Bentley is able to pull ahead right now of Sievert, but that certainly looks like that number 13 Mercedes AMG, the Unicorns of Love team, he is not happy about getting past. He is trying to find anything, and there goes the Bentley wide coming up through turn 5, and that is going to send him tumbling down the order.
Yeah, he managed to keep it on course somehow after dropping tires. That's very tricky. Sometimes when it's this wet, the dirt is actually grippier than the asphalt is, so he got right up to the edge of the road. The right side tires got hooked off the racetrack. He was able to keep it straight, though. That was very, very impressive. And here comes Alou Gobi behind, pressuring into the corkscrew as they head down the hill. Bentley, McLaren, and I think right behind was an Aston Martin Vantage. Yes, that's Dornell behind in the number 68 silver class car.
Yes, there is, and those silver and platinum class drivers really mixed in together here, the pro class drivers rather, as they go. We ride on board with Philippe looking out of that rear view mirror, a little bit of side-by-side, the Lamborghini of Blanton sending a big move down to the inside there of the Bentley, holding him off, and now he's going to set his eyes up on the road to another Bentley there in front of him. That Lambo certainly moving his way up through the order to the best of his abilities.
Yeah, Igor Rodriguez, by the way, running in 25th. This is the drop from qualifying in 17th. Remember, Igor is second in the pro category standings coming into this race, so it's not a good start at all, going the wrong direction here early. There's still time to turn it around, and if you're going to go backwards, I'd rather have it be the first 5 minutes rather than the last 5 minutes, but still a big uphill climb as the battles continue behind. Dornell pressuring Gobi now for what looks like 28th place.
And we saw Philippe there getting a little bit squirrely, getting onto the pressure. We jump up a little farther up into the field right now. Josh Staffen, we ride on board with him as he tries to close down on Yee up ahead of him. Hendrickson in that Aston Martin behind, waiting to see if there's going to be anything, but it looks like he's starting to pull ahead. It looks like the incident there between 124 and the 54 has been deemed by the stewards to be no further action. So that, I believe, was that first corner spin around that we saw involving the Williams Racing drivers.
Yeah, Josh Staffen, again, lots of experience in the Mobileye GT World Challenge America Esports Championship. It's not his first rodeo. He's gained a spot here early, now pressuring Yee ahead. Here's a look at Philippe Samard in the Mobileye FFS Racing BMW, chasing Davinza Hacker in front of him. This is a battle for 11th place, but don't look too far back. Luke Southall is right behind the number 103 Bentley, and that car is looming in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, it certainly is, as those Bentleys do tend to loom large on all of it, as Southall had a little bit of a look down to the inside there, but nothing really doing. We now ride on board with the Delta Sport driver in that 103 Bentley Continental GT3 as he works his way down into turn 3. You can see that rooster tail that you talked about earlier, Kyle, just kicking up, making visibility very, very low around here for these drivers.
Yeah, the spray, the wipers, the fact that the sun has gone down and we're heading into darkness here in Monterey, California. This is the worst possible kind of condition for a racing driver. They can't see anything, they can't feel anything. The car's slipping and sliding everywhere. You're just jostling for position right now. So the Delta Sport driver working over Samard for 12th place, but just struggling to stay on the road at this stage. Look at Samard using every bit of it at the exit at turn number 5.
Yeah, dipping those right tires off into the AstroTurf on the exit there. Lucky that that car didn't spin around and cost him more time, but you can see the gap certainly starting to come down there. Look at that wheel input for Luke Southall. You can see just how much he is really having to put into that Bentley to get it turned around the corners, and specifically going down into the corkscrew. But there, as they work their way through turn 10, it does look like the Bentley's starting to close up a little bit on the back of the number 42 BMW.
Yeah, here's a tiny little detail that you might not think a whole lot about. That Bentley is a right-hand drive vehicle. It's the only right-hand drive vehicle in this field. Now, when the majority of the track is left-hand corners, that means that you have a much better idea of where the right side of your car is because you're sitting on the right side. So you can use all the racetrack and use a little bit more than your left-hand drive competitors that might need to leave a little bit of gap just for extra safety. If you touch the edge of the road here in a braking zone in the wet, it's game over. So that might be a little bit of an advantage that Southall can use in that Bentley.
Yeah, very much so, as he keeps in nice and close behind right now, trying to get everything that he can through the right-hander of turn 4, using that right-hand drive in the Bentley to his advantage. As here he comes, coming up behind the BMW once again. He is really starting to apply some good pressure here to the back of Samar, with the 42 not showing any signs of backing down.
You mentioned earlier how difficult it is to pass around here. All Southall needs to do is get Samard offline, make him think that Southall is coming for a pass, and then just back out and let Samard kind of run himself off the racetrack. But Philippe is so good, I don't think that's going to happen without a bit of a fight. Here's Gregor Schill, by the way, in the BS Turner Motorsport car right now, running in 4th. Tobias Pfeffer in that Mercedes AMG, the 324 car, is right behind. Pfeffer survived that 3 wide in the Andretti hairpin on the opening lap and is now pressuring Schill for 4th.
Yeah, starting to get a little bit of pressure here is Gregor Schill. That Mercedes AMG GT3 looking menacing in the rear view mirror and making one heck of a sound. But I've got to say here, little bit of a bobble there on the brakes for the 89. You can see that car just not exactly look like it was exactly perfect. But Kyle, unless my eyes deceive me, it does look like the rain is lessening around here at Laguna Seca.
I don't think your eyes deceive you at all, DJ. I think you're right. And very, very quickly, when we have a field this large, a dry line will begin to form. It'll take a couple of minutes, and it's not going to be very fast because the sun is down, but that certainly could change the conditions. And in a moment, we're going to have a look at the start, and we'll have a look at some of the incidents that happened down there. Here's the launch at the green flag, and then this red Mercedes AMG that was a handful of rows back. That was my area of focus, watching Tobias Pfeffer go middle 3 wide. At the bottom right of your screen, there's Pfeffer, and watch what he's going to do. He's going to go driver's right and then just go straight for this gap in the middle to the outside of the Turner Motorsport car, and somehow they don't all bounce off each other. Really impressive stuff.
Yeah, very, very impressive. You can see Pfeffer just forced a little bit wide there by the Turner Motorsports BMW there. We now take a look a little bit further back in the field. You can see all of that spray, and there, that's Muller there. That's the contact that spun that Williams Esports driver around in the 36.
Yeah, there was just a little bit of jostling there. Even further down, the 44 got a piece of some damage there. Just a little bit of jostling and pushing and shoving as everybody is just trying to avoid hitting each other. They still end up hitting, and there's the 124 going for a spin, and this is what dropped Rodriguez down so many spots here early and really set him on the back foot. So a lot of climbs will have to be made by him in the remainder of this race, especially to hold on to that second position with his championship fighter, William Hendrickson, who only entered this round 12 points back, while Hendrickson's running 9th on the racetrack right now, DJ.
Yeah, he's got to get a little bit of a move on here if he wants to be able to do anything. We're also getting a report that, courtesy of that first lap incident, cars 44 and 41, no further action taken. So the driver stewards here opting not to take any battle. But as we said, up at the front of the field, this is more of a game of inches here from Luke Whitehead. He's slowly but surely pulling away here at this point. He's now got the gap up to about 0.8 of a second. And while that may not seem like a whole lot, it has just been slow, steady progress for him pulling away. One battle, though, that hasn't really died down. This is one of the battles a little further back in the field. This is Seville and Patterson, as he's got a little bit of a problem there with his camera. But this is a battle that certainly continues to rage on. This is back down for 20th.
Yeah, these are both cars that are mid-engine platforms that have a lot of balance inherently in the dry, but without the traditional front-engine rear-wheel drive platform, they can get a little sketchy if they get up and sideways. But Patterson now chasing Seville down the hill at turn number 9 and into turn 10. McLaren versus Acura, and then there's a BMW just ahead of them. That's Ruppert running 19th. And then just behind, teammate Carl Whitmer, by the way, in the number 93, started, I think, 24th or 25th. He's gained a couple of spots.
Yes, he has. Some more briefings coming out from the stewards here. Car 9 and 88. That incident on lap 3 that we saw a warning issued to car 88. That is Felipe that is going to be able to get, or Felipe rather, that is going to get that penalty, that warning there in the number 88 Bentley.
Yeah, by the way, we should also mention, while we're watching these other battles deeper in the field, the fact that we have our silver class competitor battling for the overall race lead just goes to show how good Angel Inestrosa has been this season, running in second to the Pro Championship leader. Really cool stuff to see those two classes intermingling. I know it's not necessarily going to be, the top 20 are Pro, the bottom 20 are silver, but both classes have extremely strong and competitive fields, and it's definitely not let the color of the number take away from their performance behind the wheel.
No, not at all. I mean, we have seen a cross series here for a bunch of really, really good runnings there for everything. That a lot of these silver drivers, whoa, that's ascent going down into the corkscrew, and drivers getting all kinds of turned around.
Yeah, that's Ruppert, Felix Ruppert for Wilton Esports. He's backwards, so is the 93 car of Carl Whitmer, and everybody's piling in there. It's difficult to see as you come up over the crest, so that was a really awkward interaction there, DJ. There's a yellow flag there. There's something over the crest. You just don't know where it's going to be, but that was a big mess. It sounds like Felix has returned to pit lane with probably what I can imagine is significant damage from all that contact, DJ.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that, as well, as that's really the first multi-car incident that we've seen fire off here today, as there is Felix Tazura Hacker on your screen right now as he tries to get his way back around. That's going to be a little bit of running here, but he's going to try to keep his close behind Cardinal Lou as much as possible.
Yeah, a couple of the HPD Jazz Pro America cars caught up in that collision, but Cardinal Lou continues to run it very, very well, along with teammate Josh Staffen, just a couple positions up the road. There's a good look at Tobias Pfeffer, still pressuring Gregor Schill, the the BMW M4, and Pfeffer in the Mercedes AMG continues to chase him down, but 3 Porsches, a BMW, and a Mercedes AMG right now your top 5.
Yeah, it's a good parity there, really, once you work your way through the top 10. Obviously, Porsche seeming to be the favored car around here at the moment, but there is Pfeffer. Once again, Kyle, you mentioned this earlier, so much of racing at Laguna Seca is just about that slow and steady pressure, trying to get the driver in front of you into making a mistake, and that looks exactly what Pfeffer is doing here right now.
Yeah, it's a rhythmic racetrack that really benefits you to keep the car online the whole time, because it's so difficult to get up along alongside and make a pass. Several of the braking zones involve kind of kink straightaways or very flat exits that you can run wide very easily, especially in this area, turns 3 through 5. There's a lot of risk in making a pass here, so sometimes it's better just to wait to kind of set yourself up for a pass on the other half of the racetrack down into turn 1. Let's have a look at that corkscrew incident that happened at the top of the hill here, DJ.
All right, so this is taking a look out the back here as they work their way through turn 6. That is Sievert there behind. As we come up the hill, you can see Sievert trying to send that move to what will be the outside. Little bit of contact there, and that is going to send the 71 right around. That is Felix Rupert, who we said discoed here a little bit earlier. And then a lot of problems there. You can see exactly what that was. So it looked like there just a little bit of contact between himself and Sievert, and that is what really triggered everything.
Yeah, it looked like he moved to the right, and I don't think it was an intentional block or an intentional defense. I think he got up on the curbing. He was super far track left, hit the curbing on the brakes, and when you do that in the rain, the painted surface is extremely slippery. So I think what happened, got on the curb, got on the brakes, and the car just shot to the right with that grip difference between the left side and right side tires. So I think that was what contributed a little bit to it, and once they made contact with the slick track surface, it's game over. Notice at the top of the screen though, DJ, pit window is open.
Yes, it is, and that pit window will stay open for about the next 30 minutes here. So it will go from 45 minutes left to go in this race to 15 minutes left to go in this race. And now a lot of drivers, Kyle, are going to probably try to pick and choose when you want to do this to try to get themselves out in as much clear air as possible, as there aren't really enough long straightaways around here at Laguna Seca to maximize the draft, and really and truly you're going to be setting your best times when you're running by yourself.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason that you'd want to pit yourself into traffic. So I think if you're at the front of the field here, you're going to wait as long as you can. If you're towards the tail of the field, I don't think it matters quite so much. I think you'd rather get it done earlier than later. But the mid-pack, what do you do if you're right now running 7th through 20th or so? I'm not really sure. I think you just have to wait for the dominoes to fall in front of you. The last thing you want to do is come down to pit lane for your mandatory stop and then pit right out into slower traffic. That will just be catastrophic for your pace.
Yeah, most certainly will. And by the way, as we continue to watch here, I want to give you a quick update on standings as they run in the pro category. Luke Whitehead, if things finish right now, will be up into the lead and will hold on to that top championship position. Gregor Schill will jump his way up a couple of spots to finish 2nd. William Hendrickson will maintain 3rd, and Jorge Rodriguez will fall all the way down into 4th place. So he has really got to get a little bit of a move on here, as we've got some penalties being issued right now, particularly out to car 44. That is Felipe Roberto. That car is been given a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision. The incident between 124 and 13 on that first lap, that is going to be Rodriguez, and I believe Sievert. That is going to be no further action.
Look at this. Gregor Schill and Tobias Pfeffer, they traded their spots back 2 or 3 times in the Andretti hairpin, and now Kadaxioglu has joined the fight. It's a 3-horse race for 4th place right now. Schill, Pfeffer, and Kadaxioglu still battling side by side down towards turn number 5. Pfeffer on the outside into 5. That's not going to work. He's going to cross him under. They touch through turn 5.
Little bit of argy-bargy there, as it may look like behind them now. Kondasioglu may want to get involved in this as well. We ride on board with Gregor Schill trying to be able to close himself back down and get ahead there. That is everything just kind of popping off here as they run. Very, very close running down into the corkscrew.
Really impressive pass by Tobias Pfeffer. He kind of muscled his way by in the rain. That will drop Gregor Schill in the BS Turner Motorsport car back to 5th place. And then right behind is that number 96 or number 56 Porsche rather that got up in the mix. But now that they've single filed out, I think it's going to give Michael in the 6th position a second to kind of recalibrate his attack there. He thought that when Pfeffer opened the door, he could jam that Porsche on through, but the door shut before he could complete his own pass.
Yeah, could not get that pass done, so he is going to have to try to see what he is able to do here now, and Schill just wants to be able to pull away and try to close in on the back of Pfeffer up ahead of him in that Mercedes, but it's going to be a little bit tricky to try to do here. The Turner Motorsports driver working his way around, and he's also got to look it back because Kondasioglu and Lee looking very, very impressive. But now, as we talked about, with the track conditions continuing to change around here a little bit, what is going to happen in terms of the handling of these cars?
Well, again, you can see now that there's not as much spray at all, so the visibility is certainly improving. I know it's darker out there now, but your headlights will illuminate the way. What we're going to see less and less of, though, is slipping and sliding because of the rain. The track isn't dry yet. It's now still damp, but it's not completely soaked. So I think there's still opportunity for drivers to make mistakes, but much less so than at the beginning of the race, expecting it to stay like this for the remainder as well. But you see in behind, there are still some areas on the racetrack where there still is some standing water that you'll have to use those wipers to clear. But drivers are hoping and praying they can get that out of the way and race on the dry pavement all the way to the end of this race.
Yes, they will, and now we've got another issue coming in here. That is going to be the 999 Lamborghini for Clifford Racing. Jonathan Clifford be giving a drive-through penalty for contact with the number 36 of Jack Noller. Now, I don't believe we saw that incident there, Kyle, but that is certainly going to be enough to pretty much ruin the 999's day.
Yeah, I think we did see that 36 car turned around earlier. I can't recall exactly where that was on the course, but I do remember seeing that 36 McLaren turned around a little earlier. Meanwhile, Kondaxioglu continues to fight Gregor Schill, but this gap has stayed relatively constant at about 2.5 tenths to 3 tenths. And here's some side-by-side. Patterson and Seville for 18th place, and look behind, Killian Ryan Meenen in the Aston Martin Vantage.
Yeah, looked there like Patterson was trying to get a little bit of a move, maybe hoping for the crossover there coming down through turn 11. That's not going to work. He's got a good run here, though, going down the sweeper that is turn 1. He's going to have to look to the outside of the Andretti hairpin. He's going to be thinking about a little bit of a crossover there, but is Seville going to be able to cut that off? Oh, that was textbook stuff. Seville washing out the track a little bit and a little bit of bumping and banging there. Seville continuing to hold this out hard as they go through now turn 3. It's going to be another right-hander, and that's going to favor Seville, and look at that coming up from behind. That is going to be that is going to be Killian Ryan Meenen able to get a great move there in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, Seville got the elbows pointed and jabbed him in the rib cage of Zach Patterson, and Killian Ryan Meenen with the assist goes on by and moves up into 18th place and drops Patterson a spot. Nice clean racing there, the Andretti hairpin. They came out and things got a little bit messy, but I think they're going to get away with that one there, DJ. That's just classic sports car racing, a little bit of leaning on each other in the conditions. I think that's acceptable, but they ran side by side, and what a textbook maneuver to slide that McLaren on by in turn number 2. That was great stuff.
Yeah, it was, and look at this. Kondaxioglu losing time now to Gregor Schill. Schill pulling away a little bit. I'm not sure if that was an error for Kondaxioglu, but it's now going to be Yi behind him in the number 7, that silver class driver that's going to be putting some pressure there. And don't look now, but that's Josh Staffen as well in the number 23. This is really firing off into a three-way battle. Yeah,
the 56 lost a full second to the rest of the field in sector number 3, so something happened to the 56 that dropped him into the path of Yi and Staffen behind. So it's Kondaxioglu in the Porsche, then it's another Porsche, and then an Acura NSX GT3 behind him. So he is under fire right now. I don't think it's going to be a persistent loss. I think it was just a one-time thing, but if he continues to slip up in sector 3, he could be under fire heading down into turn number 2 at the Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, very well could. We're going to have to see. And there you could actually see Josh Staffen making a little bit of one of those adjustments that you talked about earlier, Kyle, just changing something on the car that he didn't really like. You see him there kind of being like, all right, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm not sure if that's conversation with a spotter or if that's just a little bit of a chat with himself. But we've got more penalties being issued. This to the 97. Jonathan Seville being issued a drive-through penalty for causing a collision with the number 71 of Felix Rupert.
Yeah, so that goes back to the corkscrew collision, and that is a little bit of a surprise. Maybe not as big of a surprise as I'm making it seem, but here comes Josh Staffen now down pit lane for his scheduled stop, just shy of halfway. This is a little bit of a surprise to me to pit this early for someone that is going to end up pitting into traffic, but maybe just wants to get it out of the way and focus on the dry conditions for the rest of the race. But I think he's going to end up towards the tail half of the traffic here as we go back and look at a replay.
Yes, indeed. We're going to go back and jump into that replay here. This is part of that incident.
Different one. Okay, I thought this was a different incident, but that seems to be the case there. And then is this some more hip and shoulder? Okay, so this is a completely different incident there. And that time, that was the 36 that went off.
And that was the incident there for Jonathan Clifford that we saw the 999 get penalized for. Okay, so that helps us to sort some of those penalties out. Thank you to our director, Mike Yao, for being able to find those replays and getting us a better sense of what's going on out on track.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a little help to put the puzzle pieces together. And, sometimes we only see, one of the pieces, and the other 3 that complete the square are somewhere else in the replay. So it's good to get some context as to where and why those penalties are coming out. But here's a look at Zach Patterson now. Killian Ryan Meenan's right behind him, and having a look at Patterson's last couple of sectors, he's actually gained a little ground on Killian Ryan Meenan, but that pink Aston Martin, he's off course at turn 5. Big slide into the gravel.
Is he going to keep it pointed the right way? Ooh, that's some avoidance there behind. I think that was Sievert that was able to get around him there, and that is going to be a very, very rough run for Zach Patterson, just not able to get it together. He's going to loot a bucket of positions there, falling all the way back down into the mid-20s. And by the way, I want to give massive shout-outs here. We mentioned him earlier, Mike Yao, but as well as Steve Proudly behind the scenes, both of our directors and producers here, giving us these replays, giving us these pictures. If you like what you are seeing, it is all a result of those two. So massive, massive credit there to the both of them. But we've got to focus in on some of the racing action right now as the 898 trying to close in on the back of Carden Liu, waiting to see if that Acura is going to make a little bit of a mistake, but Carden holding on to that 9th place rather well.
Yeah, Carden's doing a great job, and prior to Josh Staffen pitting, he was the 2nd HPD Jazz Pro America car in the running, so still up in the mix inside the top 10 as it stands, but the pressure from behind is growing. Devins Hacker's there. Philippe Samard is just lurking in the background. That blue BMW at the back ear shot there, so it's going to get harder before it gets easier for Carden Liu in that red and black and white Acura.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult. Oh, but that's an off there. Whoa, how did Felix keep that together?
That corner is challenging in the best of times. When it's rainy and slick or even in drying conditions, an extraordinarily challenging corner. The right side of the car is extremely loaded. It's heavily aero dependent. The slightest miscalculation of when you start to turn the wheel to turn in will send you off course or hammering a sausage curb on the inside. So it's such a delicate corner from a turn-in perspective, and the slightest mistake can lead to a big one. We saw that earlier with Patterson. So a great catch there by Felix, but that could have been a lot bigger than it was.
Yeah, that could have been positively massive here. We focus in on another one of the Delta Sport drivers. Delta Sport having a big, big presence in this series. This is Josh Mckean as he tries to keep his way ahead of Harry Spears in his signature green Bentley, trying to get onto the binders there, down into the Andretti hairpin, waiting to see what's going to be able to fire off here as Mckean works his way through this infield section. This is another area of the track that is particularly difficult, a little bit slower than the rise up the hill, but just as easy to throw it off line.
Yeah, and again, this is a delicate area again. I mentioned how flat it was earlier. This is one of those areas of the racetrack where overcooking it means you're in the gravel. There's no camber, no banking here to catch you. If you overshoot the corner, miscalculate a braking zone, you're going to be deep into the gravel. There is absolutely zero paved runoff here outside of turn number 11 and a little bit on the entry to turn 2 at the Andretti hairpin. But this is not a track that has a lot of room for error. The good news is the walls are pushed far enough away that you probably won't hit a wall, but you certainly will find yourself stuck in the gravel, especially when it's raining. That is a big problem there. But down through the corkscrew, that has been surprisingly not as big of a trouble spot as I saw, DJ, but more penalties here. This time, a 15-second penalty to the 93 car for an unsafe rejoin.
And you know what? I hate to say this, but I'm not entirely surprised. That is going to Zach Patterson, that incident we saw coming up through turn 6.
That's Carl Whitmer in the 93 car today, looks like.
Yes, it is. Excuse me. That is my bad. I can't read a 3 from a 2 there. So that is an unsafe rejoin for Carl Whitmer. And I've got to admit there that is probably deserved, as that was a little bit of a sketchy rejoin there that we saw coming up over the crest of the hill.
Yeah, I won't blame you there, DJ. They're both running the same livery and both have 9s in front, so it's easy to make that mistake, especially in the dark. So, yeah, that penalty, though, safe rejoins. They look like you're joining the road parallel to the direction of travel, and generally you're trying not to put yourself in harm's way when you're rejoining the road. So sometimes it's easy, sometimes it can be pretty tricky. I think that was one of those scenarios, but yeah, a penalty deserved there. Here's Harry Spears again chasing Mckean in that 77 Silver Class car, southpaw up the road, and then way up at the front of the shot you see the BMW Philippe Samar, Devinsva Hacker in the 898, and then Cardin Liu in the 94. So there's 4 or 5 spots all within sight distance for Harry Spears to chase in that Bentley.
Yeah, still plenty of time here to be able to go, as well as we are just at about the halfway point here in this race. We continue to follow Harry Spears. A little bit of a wider line there, it has to be said, coming down through Rainy Curve right now into trying to get that move done on Mckean up in front of him. The Race Anywhere driver of Harry Spears just keeping everything together, not looking like he's pushing too hard, and I like that strategy here for him, Kyle.
Well, for a lot of drivers, they've got this send mentality just from, how deep you're going to take it into the braking zones, and that works great in the dry conditions in these GT3 cars. They respond very well to driving pretty aggressively, but when it starts raining, when it gets a little wet, and we're on the back half of that now, you're rewarded for being smooth and really being gentle on your inputs, and that might not be so easy in a car this big, but Harry Spears is doing an excellent job right now chasing the cars ahead of him, the Acid and the other Bentley of Southall. So keeping the car under you, keeping it on the black stuff, that's important to finishing a race, DJ. They always say that if you want to win a race, you got to first finish it, and right now Spears is doing a great job in that department.
Yes, he most certainly is doing a pretty fantastic job of being able to keep his way up and forward right now. Spears working his way around. Here is Josh Mckean as he focuses in on trying to catch his teammate Luke Southall directly up ahead of him. This is one of the closest battles we do have out on track, as it looks like up at the front of the field, Luke Whitehead has been able to pull away there a little bit from Ian Ostra, so that gap expanding to about 2 seconds, and this really starting to tighten down, but I do anticipate pit stops really drawing everything nice and close together here, Kyle.
Yeah, certainly. We got about 13 minutes left in that pit window, and there's a lot of drivers that have yet to come down to pit lane. So I think that will be the next domino to fall. Quick update on the point standings. It looks like it hasn't really changed all that much. It does appear that Rodriguez has lost a couple of points compared to Hendrickson, because Hendrickson has gained some spots with drivers hitting pit lane. So we'll have to wait till after the pit stop sequence is complete to really know where those drivers stand. But I can say pretty safely that with the start that Rodriguez had, I know he's done pitting, so he'll gain some spots, but he is certainly not going to necessarily be second in this championship based on how things went. And all it took was one incident on lap 1 to bury that 124 in the standings.
Yes, it did, and we've got, who is here? Comes Renato Dornelles coming down pit lane right now. The Race Anywhere SimSport driver in the number 68 Aston Martin going to be bringing that car down as well. I can tell you right now that with some of the moves that we've seen going on, if they were to finish the way that they were, Gregor Schill continues to look like he is going to be in a good position to jump from 4th to 2nd in the standings. So a good run there from Gregor. There he is, the Turner Motorsports driver, doing a fantastic job to be able to get his way up forward, and this is exactly the kind of run we would really expect from Gregor. He has had a good season, just a little bit of bad luck coming his way.
Yeah, we've seen this a lot all the season, the amount of pace that Gregor Schill has, and you're right, it just came down to luck a couple of times, but right now running a very strong race. Fought Tobias Pfeffer for 4th a little earlier, but didn't fight it to the point of getting into heavy contact or getting turned off the racetrack. Knew that he was going to get past, let it happen, and now is running solidly inside the top 5. Holding this spot is going to be the best that Gregor Schill is going to be able to do today, I think, from a championship perspective, at least running 2nd. I think catching Whitehead is going to be an extreme challenge unless Whitehead has a catastrophic issue, as that time the 89 apexes the Andretti hairpin nicely, but again, I'd say I'd be a little shocked if Whitehead were to take himself out of the race at this stage, but I guess anything can happen in motorsport, virtual or real.
Yeah, very much so, as really anything can happen. We'd focus back here on this battle for 12th between Southall, Mckean, and Spears. It looks like there that the 9 and the 93... as just a quick apology there for that noise you just heard, a little bit of audio issues on our end. I can tell you right now, though, it was the game that caused that to come out there, as it does look like the Cody Blanton and the 93 there of Carl Whitmer, the both of them, their incident deemed a racing incident, so no further penalties being assessed there. But Kyle, as we continue to watch Spears, I've got to start thinking here with about 10 minutes left to go in that pit stop window. Maybe the best way for Harry to get on by these two Delta Sport drivers in front of him is try an undercut strategy.
Yeah, I like that strategy at this stage. Enough people have pitted now that I'd feel a little bit better about hitting pit lane before the competitors ahead of you, just to get it out of the way and focus ahead and focus on running clean laps. I don't like waiting to the very, very end unless you have extreme control over your scenario like Luke Whitehead does. But if you're anywhere kind of really, 4th through 10th or 15th, I think now's not a bad time to come here. So the traffic that you've been running in isn't certainly helping you. You might as well get yourself out of that mix and give yourself a little bit of a fresh patch of racetrack to continue. So I think with only 10 minutes left on the board, now's a great time to come on down. 25 minutes left in the race here, though, and no one has taken the fight to Luke Whitehead, but there is still the possibility that he makes a mistake entering or leaving pit lane.
Yes, there very much is that possibility. Is that we haven't really had a chance to talk about the entrance here into pit lane. Not exactly the easiest one to be able to get in is, we've got some more penalties being levied out. This is going to be the 324. This is Pfeffer that is going to be given a drive-through penalty.
Okay, so this was in response to the collision that we saw entering turn number 3 that I mentioned I thought was kind of fair play given the conditions, but it seems like the stewards didn't agree with that and causing a collision for Tobias Pfeffer. That's a little bit of a surprise to me, DJ. They are certainly keeping these guys on running on a tight ship here this weekend. So Pfeffer will have to come down and, he's going to have a 5-second penalty to add, so that will drop him a couple of positions.
Yeah, it'll drop him down quite a few positions there, I would have to imagine. And he will be able to serve that 5-second penalty when he comes into pit lane. He will just have to remain stationary there for an additional 5 seconds, but that is certainly going to put him down the order. Now, the one good news that he does have is that he is not necessarily looking to be in the championship battle, although he may lose a spot here to Kondicioglu, and that will lose him, I believe, 5th place in the championship.
Yeah, and again, I'm a little bit surprised that they made that call there, DJ. I know there was a little hip and shoulder, but that was one of those scenarios that I think I probably would have let him get away with, but I don't. Obviously, the stewards didn't agree, so the 89 will be granted that spot back. And we mentioned how good Gregor Schill has been this season. That was a little gift back to him, so he will move back up into 4th if everything cycles the way that it has been. Here's a look at Gabriel Philippe in the Oak Racing Team car, up about 1.3 seconds from Alou Gobi in the number 49 McLaren, and Gobi has had a very good run tonight in that McLaren.
Yeah, he certainly has, moving his way up forward and currently holding the standard there for Gobi. We're going to go back and check out the replay here of that incident between Gregor and Pfeffer here as we go back to check this out. This is this coming together that we talked about.
I don't know if I saw this one.
Yeah, this looks a little bit different to me, Kyle. This is different.
This is the turn 5 collision. Okay, I think this one I would understand here. Gets in and it gives him a shot right there mid-corner. But, even that, though, you could have argued that the 89 was really low on corner speed, kind of overdrove the corner. So even that, I think that was, maybe more egregious than the turn 3 collision, but I'm still a little bit surprised that they called on that one, DJ.
Yeah, I am a little bit as well. As they go down into the corner, it definitely looks like that. I don't know. I think it's because there was a position that was lost there that's why the penalty was given.
I think if had he given it back, I don't think they would have given that call. So Pfeffer will unfortunately have to pay the price for that maneuver, and will drop a couple of spots when he hits pit lane here. That pit window is running low on time, so they're going to have about 3 or 4 more opportunities to pass by that pit lane entrance before they will be required to come to pit lane. And it looks like the majority of the field, sans the top 15 or so, have already made their stop. So what about Inestrosa? What about Hardevel? Do you think they're going to hit pit lane before Whitehead or try to pit with them?
I mean, my instinct here would be to try to do what the driver in front of you is not doing. So if you're able to stretch here, do it. If you're worried about fuel, I would say come on into pit lane right now, but we will have to see. Here comes Whitehead coming down there out of the final couple of corners. Looks like he's not going to opt to come down pit lane. 3.5 second gap back to Ionostra right now as they go down through the corner. Here is Pfeffer, and both himself and Gregor Schill looks like they're not going to come down, but you can tell that Tobias has really put the hammer down. He is trying to close in on Hartveld. I think he knows that he's got to try to be able to beat Kondachoglu here to be able to hold on to that 5th place.
Well, Kondachoglu just hit pit lane in the number 56, so that is a pit stop underway for that Porsche that was running in about 6 or 7 spots. So move the 56 on down, turn that label green. Pit stop is being completed, and that will now turn over another position to Yi in the number 7 Porsche as it stands. So the last couple of moments here for drivers to hit pit lane, they are coming and coming quick. What about Rodriguez, by the way, in that 124 Bentley, running 19th right now? How many more positions can he gain when others ahead of him pit? That's going to matter quite a bit when it comes to the championship standings.
Yeah, it certainly is, and this is where it's really going to help because a lot of these drivers do have race strategists as well as spotters in their ear right now, so they're not going to be having to crunch in the numbers here live. They're going to have somebody behind the scenes able to do that, able to be looking where they're going to be able to come out into traffic, and that is exactly what you want to have happen because you want to minimize all distractions if you're behind the wheel of the car.
And look at this, here's Dornell, and looks like Fidel Morera is a couple seconds behind, but Dornell in that number 68 pit stop complete, challenging ahead. That's Gabriel Philippe in the number 88 Bentley. They're going to war down the front straightaway here. Battle for now 23rd as looks like Knoller's going to hit pit lane in the number 36 McLaren.
Yeah, more and more drivers opting to come on down here as they go, waiting to see if Renato's going to be able to get a move done here on Philippe. Waiting to see, though, still that spray kicking up a little bit, but not as bad as it was certainly earlier in the race, although there you can see with just as close behind as the Race Anywhere SimSport driver in the number 68, Aston Martin is, there is plenty of spray that you have to contend with courtesy of the cars in front.
11th and 12th place, Tavinza Hacker and Ataki hitting pit lane. So those are 2 more dominoes to fall in the pit lane sequence, and I think more will come. There's Killian Ryan Meenan coming down to pit lane. We'll see if Seville comes on down in the number 97 car. So a handful more drivers will come to pit lane this time through, and it looks like Luke Whitehead this time is going to hit pit lane from the lead, and this will be the first time. Actually, that's not... I thought they were going through the pit lane. That's what it looked like to me for a moment. So Whitehead will stay out on the racetrack. Excuse me, it's dark. I can't see anything at this stage, DJ. I don't think a lot of drivers can either.
Yes, indeed. There is Whitehead on your screen. Yeah, I know exactly. I'm having the same problem earlier, Kyle. Don't even worry about it. But let's see if Luke does opt to come down pit lane as he works his way out. He's going to keep over to the left-hand side. No, he's not. He's going to stay on out for another lap.
Yeah, I think he'll have to come next time by. You might be able to go one more lap after that. That's cutting it really close. I don't think that's a risk that Whitehead should take at this stage. Probably next time around here, but a little bit of light on the front straightaway. Otherwise, lots of headlight glare, and it is dark out there. The reflections on the pavement don't make it easier, and you have to imagine that anytime a car turns sideways, DJ, when there's not lights directly facing you, that could be a pretty scary moment, and especially make incidents later in this race pretty dangerous. If I can't tell who they are, I know the drivers can't. It is dark and scary out there right now, and Assetto Corsa Competizione really captures the feeling of night racing very, very well.
Oh, it most certainly does, as well as capturing the rain around here as well. We talked about that spray. We talked about everything that happened there around that. A couple more drivers, Pfeffer, Hendrickson, and Southall, all coming down pit lane. It looks like Gregor Schill is going to be able to comfortably jump them, so he'll be able to move his way up forward. That'll slot him into 6th place, I believe, right now as they run, just waiting for that timing screen, or timing tower to update as they cross over the next timing and scoring loop, as indeed there is Pfeffer that has come out behind. He's going to be in 8th place.
Yeah, so Pfeffer will have to fight an uphill battle here in relation to where he was, but he has served that penalty, and he actually is not too far behind Schill as well. So maybe, and took Shilglu. So maybe Pfeffer's day isn't completely over. I thought that penalty was going to be more significant in terms of time. Now comes the number 21 of Whitehead into pit lane, slows down to 50 kilometers an hour, and will get that penalty, or get the pit stop served and back out on the racetrack here with just over 15 minutes remaining.
Yeah, also looks like Ian Ostra and Hartveld both coming down into the pits as well. So I've got a feeling here that this is probably going to be the end of the pit stop cycle. There is Luke Whitehead coming to rest in his box. We keep an eye here on Gregor Schill. How close behind is he going to be able to be? As there goes Whitehead done with his service. Here comes Schill. Let's see where he's going to come out in relation, as indeed Simard and Mckean both came down pit lane as well.
Yeah, so it looks like Whitehead is going to come out no contest here, but this pit lane exit is extremely challenging. A very, very sharp hairpin down here at the Andretti hairpin on the inside of the corner, but Whitehead navigates it expertly and will pop back out where he went in, leading the race. There is some traffic behind that he has now put one lap down. That's one of the HPD Jazz Pro America cars, but it looks like all things cycled through. Whitehead's lead has actually grown just a touch over into Stroza, Hartveld, and Schill. Looks like Knecht-Yoglu and Pfeffer run 5th and 6th, and Yee, Samard, Hendrickson, and Carden Liu the rest of your top 10. So no major shuffles in the running order there. And Rodriguez, by the way, up to 16th. So that's finally net positive positions for the 124 car, but still a long ways to go if he wants to get past Hendrickson and protect his position in the points.
Yes, it is. And also worth noting here that Hartfeld was able to come out of the pits only about 0.7 of a second behind Ian Ostra, so he was able to catch up there. We're also looking at what will be a pretty fierce battle for P4, I think, as Knecht-Yoglu is only about a half second behind Gregor Schill, and Pfeffer is about 0.6 of a second behind Knecht-Yoglu. And remember, that's a battle for the 5th place in the pro category, so that is certainly going to fire off here with not a lot left to go in this race.
That battle is not done by any stretch. 0.2 of a second is effectively nothing around here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, so Knecht-Yoglu and Gregor Schill will be fighting for 4th, and Pfeffer will get right back into that mix as the 56 car did with Pfeffer and Schill fought it out earlier in the race. So I think we'll see that battle reignite here despite the water on the ground at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Under 15 minutes to go, and the gap up to the leader is 7 seconds, but Nostroza is still fighting off Harteveld behind. Then Schill, Knecht-Yoglu, Pfeffer in that next battle, but Schill did put a little bit of distance on Knecht-Yoglu that sector.
Yes, he did. Able to get just enough to be able to get a little bit of something doing there, as Ian Ostra is going to be sitting a little bit happier. We jump back here to check out Carden Liu as he runs in the 94. Pretty close battle here as well. Philippe Samard and Luke Southall running 1, 2, 3, and Harry Spears involved in this equation as well.
Yeah, Josh Steffen, by the way, was actually ahead of Carden Liu before this pit sequence, if I recall correctly. So now Carden Liu carrying the banner for HPD Jazz Pro America. Steffen falling down to 13th place. That was a little further back than where he was running, but part of that could have been when he came to pit lane. Remember, pitting out into traffic could have been the cause of that. And now Josh Steffen's turned sideways at the exit at turn number 3. So from bad to worse for the number 23 car.
Oh, not good there for Staff, and that's going to turn him around. We check in on Michael Knecht-Yoglu right now as he runs very close behind Gregor Schill, and that is Pfeffer right there behind him. So count it in order, 4, 5, 6 on track with only about 13 minutes left to go. About 0.6 of a second in between Schill and Knecht-Yoglu, about 0.3 of a second between Knecht-Yoglu and Pfeffer.
There is an angry, thunderous Mercedes-AMG behind the shrill Porsche in turn number 11. Knecht-Yoglu is feeling the heat from the big V8 under the hood of Pfeffer's Mercedes-AMG. But ahead is Gregor Schill, turbo spooling in that M4 GT3 down the front straightaway. It's a 3-horse race for 4th place. Little hip and shoulder here. This is for 9th. Philippe Samard and Carden Liu.
Yep, that was the number 94. They're able to get by Samard going down into the final corner, and look at Carden absolutely pulling away into the nighttime there as they go, leaving the Bentley a little bit out in the dust. Here comes Harry Spears thinking about him, who scares Carden off the line. I don't know if he actually wanted to commit to that or not, but that's a great move by Harry.
Yeah, caught Southall sleeping there at turn number 2 and just snuck the Bentley up the inside. That car is not quiet, but somehow Southall didn't hear it coming, so Spears will take that position away, put Southall back to 12. Samard and Liu, they fought door-to-door for a moment, but Samard now in the clutches of Harry Spears, who is on a phenomenal upward climb here in the final stages of this 60-minute race. Just about 12 minutes to go, and Harry Spears is going to use all of it to hunt down that blue BMW and red Acura. Here he looks to the inside at 5, thinks better of it, or turn 6, I think. Thinks better of it, we'll tuck back in line.
Yes, he will. The big grunt coming up the hill there for the Bentley. He's actually going to have a little bit of a look going down into the Corkscrew. Thinks better of it, falls back into line, tries to take a little bit of a later apex there, going down through the plunging chicane. Not going to be able to get it, and a little bit of a tap of the brakes there up in front from Samard, just trying to get that car slowed down through Rainy Curve. I think Harry Spears may try to have a little bit of a look here going down into turn 11 if he's close enough. I don't think he's got the run, though.
that BMW is very athletic in the corners in comparison to the Bentley. You saw that through 9 and 10. And also, we should mention that track limits in the Corkscrew are something we probably should have mentioned earlier. If you get too aggressive on the inside of the left or the right-hander portion, you can get yourself track limits violations and then therefore a penalty. We haven't seen that yet tonight, but it's certainly on drivers' minds as there's incident involving cars 49 and lap 88 and lap 27. No action there, racing incident between those two.
All right, so that is the latest decision by the stewards. We check back in on that battle for P4. Everything remaining pretty much as we left it. Michael Konachoglu trying to close in on the back of that B Sport Plus Turner Motorsport machine, trying to see if there's going to be anything to be done here for the FFS Racing number 56 Porsche. It looks like the BMW's got the legs there coming up out of turn 6. Not going to be able to send anything for Konachoglu, but he's going to be hoping for a little bit of grip here, I think, in the latter stages of this race. Looking for a move this way, looking for a move that way, just trying to hope, but he lost time there coming through the Corkscrew. That may put him under assault here from Pfeffer.
Yeah, blue flags waving. There is traffic ahead. Lap traffic is going to be in the way for the 89, 56, and 324. Will it be a factor? It will not be. The Williams Esports McLaren pulls off drivers left. Very nice driving there to allow the lead lap cars to come on through and continue without any blockage of the race course. Under 10 minutes to go, and the battle for fourth still continues, but it's not as volatile as it was a little while ago there, DJ.
No, it certainly is not, but here is that other battle now for top 10. Whoa! That was a hacker sending a big move down to the inside there, and he is going to be able to get that move sent going down to the inside. Felix with a very, very brave move on Luke Southall, but Southall says, I'm not done yet. The Bentley looking to the outside there. The familiar Delta Sport livery tries to go around the outside of the Andretti hairpin, but it's not going to play out. Madhouse Racing number 8 is going to stay right ahead.
Yeah, it seems like Southall's struggling on the brakes right now. That's been where he's got out a couple of times, a little while ago down at turn number 2, and then that time at turn number 11 just doesn't have the stopping power at this stage in the race. I'm not sure if it's ABS settings or if it's pad wear. Wow, big slide there for the Bentley of Harry Spears in trouble. He goes around at turn 4.
Oh, that car just looked like it was not underneath him there at all, and Spears, who had been having a fantastic day in the number 285 Race Anywhere Bentley, is going to fall down the order here, unfortunately. You hate to see that for Harry. That car's still looking like it's all kinds of sideways.
Yeah, there was one other car involved in that too, as one of the Acuras. I want to say that it was Josh Staffen that was trying to sneak through there at the exit of turn 4 and then run down to turn 5. So maybe there was some additional contact in the darkness as the Bentley got turned back around. So big issues for Harry Spears there, and connectivity related potentially, but also some contact that led to that spin, unfortunately, for Harry Spears. And that just breaks your heart, DJ. Such a strong run up until that point.
Yeah, a very, very good run for Harry, and just seeing it all go away here, that is really the mechanical gremlins that get emulated here in Assetto Corsa Competizione, that we don't necessarily have, engine failures or that kind of thing here in the simulator, but definitely those connectivity issues coming back to bite, and that is pretty much the replica here, and very, very heartbreaking for Harry.
You can see next to Harry Spears' name that red bar. That is essentially an indicator of his internet connection, and at least in relation to the racing server. And you see all the yellow and green next to everybody else. That's good. The red is not good. And you mentioned the mechanical gremlins that teams might often face in real life, whether it's a parts failure or hitting a curb too hard and breaking a suspension component or having a tire go flat. This is kind of that emulation, not intentionally, but sometimes things just don't go your way, and that was one of them for Harry Spears. It does look like it's stabilized a little bit, though. The damage is already done.
Yeah, it certainly does. We keep our eyes focused, though, here on Gregor Schill, who's been able to pull out that gap to about 0.7 of a second between himself and Michael Konachoglu, as Tobias Pfeffer, though, keeping the pressure on the number 56 here, the FFS Racing driver, as they go down into turn 11. Only about 7 minutes left to go at this race. Time just flying by here.
Yeah, it goes by really quickly, and the conditions have changed significantly. I know the track is still a little damp, but it's a far cry from the downpour that we had earlier. That would be a rare condition here in Monterey, California, at least at this point of the year. But there's Tobias Pfeffer, a little hot there into the Andretti hairpin, trying to catch the 56 and 89 just ahead of him, but I don't think he's got enough car left to do it at this stage. There's Philippe Samard now holding off to Vince Hacker in the 898, but I don't know for how much longer. That 42 car is fading, and here comes the 898 Porsche.
Yeah, Tavinza Hacker doing a really good job there, looking for that crossover move as Simard washes up the track, and here comes the grunt of the Porsche, able to push himself ahead, and don't look now, but Luke Southall says, I'd like some of that as well, please. Tries to muscle his way around the outside there, going down through the corner. Great defense from Philippe Simard in the number 42 Mobileye FFS Racing BMW to be able to hold on to that 11th place position.
Yeah, gave up one spot, but did everything in his power to prevent it from becoming two, and holds off Southall, who had gone backwards a couple of spots himself as of late. But Simard is struggling pretty hard right now in comparison to where the pace of that car was earlier in the race. Simard has lost a few spots and doesn't look like he's got a lot left. I don't know if it's tire, I don't know if it's brake, or what have you, but that car is certainly not at pace like it was earlier in the event. And now Southall, this pass is looking almost inevitable between these two.
Yeah, it looks like it could be a little bit of both there, as you saw him coming into the braking zone of the Corkscrew, and he just looked a little bit tentative, like that car was just not really responding the way he wanted it to on the binders there, so it could have been a little bit of a problem there for Simard. Also, you noticed him losing a little bit of grip coming through the first hairpin of the Andretti hairpin, just kind of washing up the track a little bit, so it may be a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, but here comes Southall closing in behind, not exactly getting the run there that he would like to, as he's going to lose some time there. Indeed, he's going to lose about 0.3 of a second through that final sector.
Yeah, it's been the braking that's been the challenge for Southall. The challenge is that you need to be able to outbrake someone to be able to pass them effectively at this stage in the race. So he gave up a lot of ground into turn 11, as you noted, and he wasn't able to gain it back in turn 2 either in the entrance to the Andretti hairpin, where it looks like Southall is gaining time is in some of the faster corners where he can lean on the downforce a little bit more and is braking a little bit less. That's surprising, I think, in comparison to the BMW. It should be good in those areas, but something is not quite right with that 42. Don't know if it's damage, don't know if it's tire, but something is going the wrong direction for Simard.
Yeah, and look at this. I mean, it's now starting to close in behind as Mckean, the fellow Delta Sport driver there in that Aston Martin, is closing in behind his teammate of Luke Southall. So with Tavinza Hacker running away there up into the distance to the tune of about 1.8 seconds, this still remains to be a 3-car battle as Mckean looks like he's got some legs here late on in the race.
Yeah, I think that's what you use for comparison, right? That 898 Porsche that just got by Simard a couple of laps ago was already set about a 1.5 to nearly 2-second gap on Philippe Simard, so that tells me that either the 898 is incredibly fast or the 42 is fading, and judging by the traffic jam formulating behind this Mobileye BMW, I think that the latter is more likely the case. But here comes Luke Southall into turn number 11, gains a little bit of ground this time in the braking zone, but look at that BMW, the great run off the corner it gets. That's an incredibly handy defensive characteristic of a race car, is just to get off the corner very well.
Yeah, and that's exactly what is keeping Simard up in that 11th place position right now. Whoa, that was too close for comfort there for me between Southall and Simard, as they almost made some contact there through the Andretti hairpin. Great car control from the Delta Sport 103 driver to be able to keep that under control. And you know, I get a little bit excited at that, but you look at Luke Southall, that's just a day in the office. These drivers know the margins at their car perfectly.
I was going to say, you usually need binoculars to see where the end of the nose is on the Bentley, so he got those things up just in time to not run into the back of the BMW, which you need binoculars to see out of any direction out of the greenhouse of that thing. The BMW is not a small car either, but they're both very high-performance GT3 machines in their own right, just dimensionally very different, and if you're sticking in one car all season long, you know exactly where the corners and front and rear bumpers of your car are.
Yeah, you most certainly do, as we now plunge our way down into the Corkscrew here, waiting to see what the line is going to be here for your leader, Luke Whitehead. I believe it's going to be 2 laps to go here, if my math is correct. So it is, we are hearing from our director that it is 2 laps to go. So that means Mckean's really only got 2 more laps to try to get this moved on his teammate.
Yeah, so with 2 laps to go, this is when your heart rate starts to ramp up a little bit, because you know your opportunities are going down out the window. I mentioned earlier, you can force a pass anywhere around here, but there's really only 2, maybe 3 good passing opportunities around here. 2 laps, that means you got 6 tries. There's not a lot of tries left at this stage in the race. If you've been stuck behind someone for 45 minutes, it's unlikely that you're magically going to find another, extra 10 horsepower in your back pocket to make the pass happen. So you just have to get smarter about how you're applying that power. The track's still wet. There's still places that you can gain advantages and still places you can lose them. But as this battle for 4th continues, Kondukcioglu is still trying to figure out how to get around the 89 to Gregor Schill, and he's also running out of opportunities.
Yeah, certainly running out of opportunities here all the way around, but Kondicioglu does have a little bit of good news in the fact that Tobias Pfeffer is about a second and a half behind him, so this is really just a battle for up ahead. Now, Gregor Schill is going to have a little bit of lap traffic to deal with, it looks like, as they run to the line here. They will be taking the white flag. This time by white flag will be waving for your leader, Luke Whitehead, the GTWR Esports driver in the number 21 Porsche. A dominant performance out here today, leading from flag to flag.
Yeah, he has done an exceptional job, and that's why he's on top of the point standings this season. A first, second, third, and third in the previous 4 rounds. Only 1 win to his name, though, despite the dominance that he's had this season in the points. 1 win went to him, 1 win went to Gregor Schill, 1 to Harry Spears, and 1 to Tobias Pfeffer. So 4 rounds, 4 different winners. Luke Whitehead in a championship run might be the first driver, the first multi-time winner in the pro category this season if he can finish it out.
Yeah, he very well might be, and with that run, he will be able to hold on to the championship standings as they go. We keep our eyes, though, on Kondicioglu, trying to see if he's going to be able to get that move done on Gregor Schill as they work their way up out of turn 5, climbing the hill to 6th, trying to see what they're going to be able to do right now. Kondicioglu really only has about 2 more cracks at this apple. He's going to have a little bit of a look there to the inside coming up the corkscrew, but I think he's too far back to make it work.
Igor Rodriguez gained a couple of positions, and with those positions he gained, by 1 point, he notches away ahead against Hendrickson and jumps back into 3rd in the championship standings here, DJ. Phenomenal late race charge.
Phenomenal late race charge and a phenomenal win here and a phenomenal championship for Luke Whitehead. The number 21 crosses over the line to take victory in Laguna Seca and in the Mobileye GT World Challenge America Esports Championship.
That is exactly how you do it. You get in control of that race right from the very start. You drive away. You pit at the latest possible opportunity. That was absolutely spectacular stuff from Luke Whitehead. Well done. But this man right here, Igor Rodriguez, things turned around on him backwards early in the race, found himself sideways and in the gravel. He fought back. He never gave up, DJ, and if things stay as they are, he should reclaim at least 1 spot of the 2 that he lost early in the race and beat Hendrickson in the championship and end up in 3rd.
Well, that looks like exactly what he's going to do as he crosses over the line, and that indeed is going to be a 3rd place for Rodriguez. We focus back a little bit further in the field. This is Jonathan Seville locked in a battle with Josh Staffen and Felipe Moreira as they go, trying to see if there's going to be anything. That number 41 of Moreira trying to get a little bit of a move here on the McLaren up in front of him. The Bentley trying to use that absolute grunt. Only 1 more corner to go. Looking to the outside is Moreira, trying to see if he can do it. Seville covering off that inside. Little bit of front-to-back contact there as they get onto the loud pedal and cross over the straightaway, and I think that's going to be just about all she wrote.
Fireworks on the racetrack, fireworks in the sky here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Also, by the way, we can't be remiss without mentioning Chris Harteveld, the number 57, who will be your silver class champion. Phenomenal race by him to come home inside the podium, inside the top 5. Luke Southall, by the way, 2nd. And Inestroza, who had a phenomenal race in 2nd place in the race, will come home in 3rd in the championship. But all things considered, what a great race there, DJ. A little bit of hip and shoulder at certain points, but up front, very clean and tidy racing. And everyone did such a fantastic job of keeping it on the road in conditions that were so challenging.
Yeah, they certainly did. You know, we were kind of expecting a little bit of calamity there in the Andretti hairpin, and especially on the first lap, and it was just a couple of spins around. It wasn't any big damage there. Absolutely fantastic stuff from all of our drivers up and down the field to keep everything clean, and especially, as you said, in very tricky conditions out here today. But now, as we have been able to get a tabulation of the points, the top 3 in both category, in the pro category, it's going to be Whitehead and Gregor Schill coming home second. 1 point, only 1 point ahead of Igor Rodriguez. A great run there for him. In the silver class, it is going to be Hartveld who was able to take the championship over Southall, and Ionostra there will round out the top 3.
Great racing all around. And again, I have to tell these drivers that they did such a fantastic job. Not a track that you run in the rain a lot. If we were going to Donington, sure, that's a place that you're familiar with raining a lot. But WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, this is not a place that you typically see rain and wet weather, and not a place that you typically race at night either. So the entire field did such a great job. And for Luke Whitehead, that was just a display of absolute dominance from the beginning of the race to the end. And his entire season was on the podium. First, second, thirds, and first, second, third, first. That's how you win a championship, DJ. There's not much more anyone else can do if you have a season like that.
Well, exactly, and we are lucky enough here to be able to be joined by your winner and champion, Mr. Luke Whitehead, here in the booth with us right now. Luke, a commanding drive. How are you feeling right now?
I can't really put it into words, to be honest. I'm absolutely ecstatic with the result. I mean, I'm happy for myself, obviously, but I'm also massively happy for Chris and the team. I mean, you know, for the team to lock out both championships is just insane. I think another thing is, like, it's quite poetic that I've ended and started the championship with a win, and you know, I'm just absolutely over the moon, absolutely buzzing.
I mean, as well, you should be, my friend. But talk to me a little bit about the race itself. It really looked like you never had too many problems out there. Obviously, having to negotiate around a little bit of traffic, but how much were you kind of thinking about that championship over the course of the race, and how much were you just trying to keep focused?
I mean, for me anyway, it was quite fortunate because, I mean, going into the round, I'd done the maths, so I knew that I needed 6th place no matter what. If I finished 6th, then I knew Eagle couldn't win the championship. So I knew from that perspective, I was all good. And obviously seeing that, obviously those Hendrickson and Rodriguez unfortunately had a tough quali. They were quite a way down the field, so I knew that I wouldn't really be threatened for the championship. So I just thought, I'll have some fun in this race. And obviously, Angel snatched the fastest lap a couple of times, and with like 4 laps to go, I knew that I had the pace, so I just went, yeah, all right, let's see if I can get this fastest lap, and I got it. So, just happy to get the Grand Slam on this one, and just, yeah, absolutely over the moon with the entire championship.
I mean, as well, you should be, my friend, but I gotta ask you, what's next? What is next on your sim racing schedule? When can we see you back here in another competition for SRO and GT World Challenge?
Well, I'm hoping to win another one. So I don't know whether it'll be America, I don't know whether it'll be Europe, but I mean, I feel confident that I can be up the front in any of them. So I mean, this championship, I wasn't off the podium the whole series, which I just cannot even comprehend. But yeah, I'm excited for the next stuff, and yeah, hopefully I'll be on the top step once again. That's the plan anyway. But yeah, awesome stuff. I've got to give a massive credit as well to SRO and also SimGrid and all the guys like Mike Jones, Michael Hamlet, all the guys who run it, and AK Informatica, of course, and Fanatec as the sponsors for the championship. It's an awesome championship. It's a real privilege to be a part of it, and it's yeah, even more of a privilege to win it. Obviously, they're the most prestigious esports championships in the entire esports racing thing. I don't know. But yeah, I'm super happy. I'm rambling a bit, but yeah, absolutely over the moon.
Well, good. I'm glad to see your excitement. It is certainly palpable, my friend. And congratulations. Go spray the champagne. Go celebrate.
Thank you very much. I'm old enough to drink, thank goodness. So I'm going to have some alcohol for sure. So take care.
Love that.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, that was your Pro Class winner and Pro Class champion there, Luke Whitehead. And now we have his teammate, your Silver Class champion on the year, Chris Hartveld. How are you feeling? That looked like a pretty crazy race.
Yeah, it was. It was a really crazy race, but I'm super happy that I've won this championship, and it's a great way to end the season in 3rd. So yeah, super happy.
Well, I have to ask you sort of the dreaded question. How much of the math were you doing over the course of that race to finish out where you needed to finish and all of that?
Well, to be honest, I wasn't thinking about it that much. I was just doing my own race and trying to finish as high as I can. And I think it worked out pretty good. I knew the Bentley that I was fighting in the championship was pretty far behind, so I didn't worry that much, to be honest.
Well, you've got one over me, my friend, because I know I would have been sweating bullets out there.
Oh yeah, I was, but that's because it's so hot in my room. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, talk to me a little bit about the race itself and the changing conditions out there for you. How much were you really having to manage sort of expectations and manage your control of the car out on track to make sure you didn't throw it away?
Well, it was super hard, of course, because the conditions were pretty tricky, and behind other cars, I couldn't see anything, to be honest. So it was really hard to spot the apex. But yeah, I kept it on the road, and it went pretty well, I'd say. So yeah.
Pretty well indeed. And with this championship, with this third place here today, I'm sure there's a lot of people you want to thank for getting you to this point.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank Luke for all the help with the setup, and of course we worked a lot together so we could push each other and get better. And I want to thank the team, of course, for making this all possible in this championship.
Well, thank you to you. It has been an absolute pleasure to get you to watch and comment on your race in this season, Chris, and enjoy whatever celebrations you've got in store.
I will do. Thank you very much.
All right, that was Chris Hartveld there, your victor in the silver class category of the season. And now we go over to Angel Nostra, who was able to take the win here in the silver class. And Angel, I've got to start with qualifying, able to put yourself right up into the meat of the pro field, and it looked like you were starting to challenge Luke there a little bit at the beginning of the race.
Yeah, I was trying, but I didn't expect he getting pole at the last second. So yeah, it was a little bit heartbreaking, but anyway, it was a really nice position starting on P2.
Well, how much did that starting position sort of change your mentality coming into the race? I mean, were you really pushing to try to gain down on Luke, or were you a little bit more focused behind trying to keep the rest of the silver class competitors at bay?
Both at the same time. I wanted to catch Luke, but at the same time I knew that I was actually competing with Chris. But anyway, I was trying to push. Actually, I made a mistake. Then I messed up my pit stop a little bit. Then I lost like 3 seconds. But anyway, it was a really good race from everyone, from Chris, from Luke. So yeah, probably one of the most tiring races I have ever done.
I can imagine with those changing conditions out there, it had to be keeping you absolutely on your toes. But I've got to ask you, what's coming next? Are we going to see you back in another championship for us for SRO, or anything big coming up on your schedule?
Well, by now I think I'm gonna try to find another championships. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm in love with this game, but yeah, my main game is Gran Turismo, so yeah, I have to focus on both. It's quite tiring as well, but anyway, I will sort it out. Yeah.
Well, we wish you the luck, man, and I really and truly hope that we see you back in a championship with us here on ACC, because it has been a joy to get you to watch you race this season. Anybody you would like to shout out in terms of thanks for today's victory and for the season as a whole?
Yeah, thanks to you guys for everything.
Well, thank you so much, Angel, and it was great talking to you, and congratulations yet again.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that is about going to wrap up our interviews for us here today. And indeed, that is sadly going to wrap up our season for the Mobileye GT World Challenge America Esports Championship. Again, on behalf of myself, DJ Clark, and Kyle Heyer, who have been working here on the booth, as well as our director and producers behind the scene, Steve Proudly and Mike Yao, it has been an absolute pleasure bringing you the action here today and for the rest of the season. And until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.